Hi, this is Matthew. Sorry for the grungy look today. I'm kind of down, down dressing today. Just kind of not really caring about what I look like today. And this is probably not the best way to do a video, but I guess I don't look terrible. But anyway, here to just kind of chat today a little bit about the Christian, at least my understanding of the Christian position on gay marriage and on the gay marriage issue, legal issue here in America. Um, first, the first thing about gay marriage, as far as the Christian is concerned, is most Christians believe that each human being has the right to make their own choices, even if those choices are wrong. As long as those choices aren't physically harming other people, they should be allowed to make those choices. That includes the choice to have sex with a person of the same gender, or the choice to smoke a joint, or whatever else it might be. Some exceptions would be abortion, because abortion is not just a choice for oneself, it is a choice for another person whose rights are being denied. But when it comes to gay marriage and homosexuality, even though we deplore these things and we believe that these things are sin, most of us believe that the choice should be the person's. However, um, if your choice, regardless of what your choice is denying someone else their constitutional and God-given rights, um, to freedom, to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, there is a conflict there. Um, I personally have no problem on an ethical or a legal level with granting anyone, regardless of whether they consider themselves homosexual or gay or not, um, the right to visit a person in the hospital when they're in serious condition, the right to be added to a person's insurance at work, like their friend, their partner, their wife, their husband, whatever it might be. I have no problem with that on an ethical or legal level. I don't have any problem with people choosing who they want to divide their property with when they die. And if a person is in any sort of intimate, close relationship with another person exclusively, whether it be homosexual or whether it be heterosexual, whether it be friendly, whether two people are just really close friends and have decided to live together in the same home and to share responsibilities, share financial responsibilities, share their lives, even if it's just platonic, regardless of how it's arranged. I have no problem on a legal or ethical level with those people, with people in that situation being allowed legally to to give away, to leave their property or to someone else, or whatever it might be. These are not problems that most Christians have. We don't have problems with these basic concepts. What we do have a problem with, and what we will fight until our dying breath, if necessary, is the issue of us as Christians being forced legally to not only participate in directly in things that we consider sin or immoral or whatever they might be, not only to participate in those things, but being forced to even in some ways even acknowledge them as correct. Uh, you know, there are activists right now who say that not only should gay people be allowed to be married, which in my opinion, the word marriage um, excludes anything like that. But even if we allow so-called legal marriage, not only do these people want the legal marriage to happen, but they want it to be made legal to force people in churches like Baptist churches, Mormon churches, whichever church it might be, to perform wedding ceremonies in those churches under their particular religious rules, which is impossible to do. As a Baptist minister, a Baptist missionary, whatever you want to call me, I know for a fact that two men or two women walking into our church demanding to be married as if we were marrying two people of the same or different genders who were believers under God, that will not happen ever. It will not happen, and our doors will close before anything like that happens. And it's not because we hate people; it's simply because we cannot, according to our religious beliefs, the Bible, according to our faith, we cannot participate and agree with that sort of sin. And it would be an agreement if we were to stand two people of the same gender up in one of our churches and say, we were gathered here in the sight of God in the presence of these witnesses to join Bob and Samuel or whatever in holy matrimony. We would be, it's the same thing as saying we agree with it, and we do not agree with it. We never will agree with it. We never have agreed with it. We can't agree with it because God in his word says that it's a sin. It would be no different than joining a man with a 40-year-old man with his 12-year-old niece. Even though I understand that on some practical levels that's a completely different, but on a moral level it's the same thing. God doesn't look at all these different levels of morality. He sees things as they're either sin or they're not. God doesn't have this black and white levels and different levels. He does have a black and white view. He doesn't have a view of sin in these different levels like we do as humans. So the morality issue is the same. Anything that God forbids and says is sin, we cannot participate in, and we won't. So that's pretty much the Christian stance on this issue of gay marriage, and by extension, transgender issues and this kind of thing. We don't have an ethical or legal problem with people making their own choices, and we have a moral belief, a religious belief that people should be allowed to make their own choices, even when those choices are wrong. And it is definitely wrong to choose to have sex with someone of the same gender and to be married to that person. But we believe that people should have the choice to do that, even though it's wrong. But their choice ends at our rights. And the same thing is true, in reverse. This whole issue of the bakeries that are getting sued and people losing their businesses and their livelihoods because they won't write something on a cake. Well, why would you as a gay person want to go into a person's business as a Christian, who has strong beliefs against what you do in your bedroom, and try to force them to do that anyway? What kind of person does that make you? It doesn't make you a very good person, does it? Because you wouldn't want somebody doing that to you. You claim that you're moral, just like Christians claim that we're moral. Yet your morality apparently doesn't include where your morality apparently includes forcing other people to do things that they don't want to do. If I walked into a room and there was a woman laying on the bed and I just jumped on top of her and started having sex with her, that would be forcing her to do something that she didn't want to do. And that would be wrong. But you apparently don't have any problem with doing that. You have no problem with forcing me to stand you and your partner in front of a crowd of people and say under God that you are married, or to write on a cake, I agree with homosexuality, or write on anything. There's plenty of people who don't have a problem with that. So go to those bakeries, go to those print shops, go to those places, get your flower arrangements somewhere else, and if it really is that big of an issue as far as monetarily, then eventually Christian businesses will die out on their own, right? If it's such a bad thing for us to deny someone writing happy wedding Steve and Bob, or happy wedding Melissa and Angie or something on a cake, if that's such a bad thing for us to do, from a financial standpoint, then eventually our business will die out anyway, right? So it's kind of it's its own punishment. That's the way I would look at it if I were you. So don't make us do things we don't want to do. We don't want to make you do things that you don't want to do. So don't do that to us. It's a it's a basic principle of life. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This is something not only Christ taught, but it's just a logical thing. If I don't want to do something, I wouldn't want to force you to do that same thing. Just have a little common sense and a little courtesy. Stop trying to bully people into submission. And that's exactly what you're doing. You got 3% of the population is trying to bully the other 97% into submission. And you're using weapons like sympathy and ignorance and fear and shaming. You shame people. Oh, they're such haters. Oh, blah blah blah. Right. I've got 40 gay friends. I don't hate gay people. I have 40 gay friends probably. I mean, that may be that's probably not an exact number, but it's probably about that many people. And most of my gay friends understand that I'm a Christian, and they understand there's certain things that I just don't agree with, and they can live with that. But apparently the people that are activists can't for whatever reason. I'm not going to write happy birthday or happy wedding Steve and Bob on a cake if I'm writing, on cakes. I'm not going to do that because I don't agree with that. I'm not going to write happy birthday Hitler. And you say, oh, that's completely different. Hitler murdered people. Yes, but Hitler is dead. Writing happy birthday Hitler doesn't hurt anyone. There's no physical harm that comes to him, but it's still morally wrong. Because in writing happy birthday Hitler, I'm saying that I'm agreeing with something about Hitler. And granted, Hitler hurt a lot of people and killed a lot of people, and most homosexual people aren't hurting people. But on a strictly moral level, I should not be forced to, let's say I was Jewish, I shouldn't be forced as a Jew to write happy birthday Hitler on a cake any more than I should be forced as a Christian to write happy wedding Steve and Bob. So these are the issues that are the real issues for us as Christians. It's not the legalities. It's not whether or not you can own, have the person's property that, after they're dead, or divide property in a so-called divorce. If you want to do that, if you have some sort of arrangement and you get divorced or you part, I have no problem with you legally, fighting to get custody of the dog or custody of the house or whatever it is. That's not an issue to me. That's no problem. I have no problem with that. But just don't force people to do things they don't want to do. Don't force society to accept things that we know are wrong. And so I guess that's about all I have to say on the issue. I hope you understand that I'm not saying any of these things out of hatred, but just out of frustration. So I guess that's about it. Just take everything I say with a grain of salt, and I hope to hear from you and hope to hear some positive messages from you. Anybody that calls me a hater, anybody that calls me a bigot, whatever, I'm just going to erase your comments. I'm not going to listen to that. I know I'm not a hater. I know I'm not a bigot. I'm a person who has a faith, and my faith has certain things in it that I'm not allowed to do and agree with. So all I'd ask you to do is let me have that faith and stop trying to force me to do things that I don't want to do. Thanks.